Welcome back to Street Scores. It's your boy Rico giving y'all the September 22nd edition of Redskins Report. My fault, y'all. Had a lot going on, but I'm back. Shouts out to Ivory Walker and Chop Shot 2M for looking out for this video. Motivation to get this one out there, you know. I'm going to get to the analysis of our first 2 weeks of Redskins football, but I got to touch on a few topics first. Let's get it. What's that? Mama's Boy Productions. First of all, while I was gone, things got interesting with our 53-man roster. 27 of our 53 players on the defensive side of the ball, which shows our effort and energy being put towards improving our defense, which is 24th in the run defense, 25th in pass defense, and 32nd as in dead last in third down defense last year. So improvements are much needed if we are going to return to our 1991 form and dominate the league. And so far, through these first 2 games, I've seen a lot of progress, but I'm going to get in deeper into that later in the video. Another interesting analysis of our 53-man roster is that it is very young, which I love. Young means folks bouncing around with fresh legs. That means investing into the future, and also very great production for very cheap contracts. Redskins have more than twice as many players who are 23 years old or younger than we do who are 30 years old or older. And I love it. We have 11 players under 23 and only 5 players older than 30. And of the 23 and under crowd, at least 5 of them are expected to start or at least be very impactful. Linebacker Ryan Anderson, who's on the screen right now. Running back Samaje Perine. Defensive ends Jonathan Allen and Matt Ioannidis, and corner Kendall Fuller, who is out there making plays these first 2 weeks, showing out, but I'm going to talk about him later. Another noteworthy analysis, of course, who didn't make it and got cut. We have reached our 10-person limit practice squad with the signing of quarterback Alex Torgerson, wide receivers Dress Anderson, Maurice Harris, and Robert Davis, who was the only 2017 draft pick to not make the roster. He has so much potential to me, and he went to Georgia State, so y'all know I want to see him be great, but you know, preferably with the Redskins, of course. We also signed offensive lineman Kyle Callis and Anthony Fabiano, tight end Manassa Garner, defensive lineman Brandon Bakes, safety and preseason showout Fitz Smithson, and linebacker Pete Robertson. D'Angelo Hall and Phil Taylor were placed on injured reserve, and Nico Marley and Will Blackman just straight up got cut, which is crazy because Nico Marley only made plays. I feel like he should be brought back to take the Sua Craven spot on the 53-man roster. He was out there showing out in preseason, but he is undersized. But what does that matter if the results are there? Also, Will Blackman, who was a great DB and saved us 2 years ago when we needed him most, was cut, and I'm shocked by this move, but at least the Redskins cut him very early so he can have as much time as possible to search for a new team. Sadly, he has not found a new home yet, so Redskins keep in contact with him. He's a great direct replacement for Sua Cravens if needed, if Monte Nicholson and DeShazer Everett don't work out. Also, in case if y'all didn't know, players with 4 or more years of experience are considered released, but players with 3 or less years of experience are considered waived because they then have to clear the NFL waiver wire before becoming a free agent. When a player is placed on waivers, the other 31 teams have a day to place a claim on him. The team with the highest priority in the waiver order is then awarded that player. So if no team makes a claim on this player within that day, he becomes a free agent and then can sign with any team. Now, on a random note, the Redskins' 4 captains, if y'all haven't noticed yet, are DJ Swearinger on the left, Kirk Cousins right next to him, Trent Williams right next to him, and Niles Paul on the very far right. And DJ Swearinger is interesting because he just got here this season, just a few months ago. So this shows shows how much of an impact he's making. He's clearly earning respect of his teammates and coaches. And Niles Paul on the far right is interesting too, because I was seeing him not even making the 53-man roster on a lot of people's predictions. I knew he should make it, and him being captain shows how safe he was to begin with. Shouts out to him for overcoming the serious injuries that he's had over the past 2 years. Man, he been through a lot, man, for real. But now going to this week 1 against the Eagles. Sad, ugly game. We were way more in this game than the final score shows. I seriously feel like we got cheated on that fumble call that ended the game. But that's in the past, not going to dwell on it, just going to analyze it and make suggestions. In general, the defense looked far more aggressive and showed a lot of signs of improvement. The defense did a lot of things right, but they didn't matter when we couldn't bring Carson Wentz down when we had him. Corners were making jumps on throws, D linemen and outside linebackers were getting a lot of pressure, but Carson Wentz sloppy neck self escaped a lot of sacks. And on one play specifically, he escaped a Jonathan Allen sack and then threw for a 50-yard touchdown. I mean, ridiculous. I gotta credit Carson Wentz, but the Redskins gotta do a better job of bringing him down. But for this to be our biggest problem is obviously a good sign and some progress, and this can be fixed. The offensive line struggled too. Fletcher Cox was going around and putting hands on everybody. He was even giving Trent Williams a beating on some plays. The Eagles D-line was out there exposing our O-line for real. I thought they said they were supposed to be the second coming of the Hog. Them boys were out there roadkill. With the O-line being one of our supposed strongest points on the team, playing so poorly, the running game couldn't get going. There was no balance. Jay Gruden probably could have helped the situation by being a little bit more patient and sticking with the run longer in order to get it going, but he didn't. We are 15-2-1 over the past 3 seasons when we rush for at least 90 yards in a game. We are 3-13 when we don't in that same span. This should tell Jay Gruden that running the ball is not only essential for winning for every team, but specifically ours. You know it's bad when Kirk is tied for the leading rusher on the team for a game with 30 yards. We also had 4 turnovers. Teams just don't win with 4 turnovers. We were also 3 of 11 on 3rd downs, which is extra tragic. Also, we are 0-5 in season openers since 2012, which is even more tragic. We need to get off to better starts, y'all. And it's crazy too, we were 5-0 against the Eagles in our last 5 meetings until this last loss, so that streak is broken. But there were obviously some jitters out there. Kirk Cousins was throwing some ugly little throws, some underthrown, some overthrown, some forced, and then Terrell Pryor, our golden child, was out there dropping a few easy catches. Timing was off, and it was just a lot of rush showing. But we also had some great moments. First of all, I feel like Tressway does not get enough credit for his punting skills. He is way better than a lot of punters in the NFL. I don't think we know how good we have it until you watch other teams' punters punt. I mean, he saves games with his legs. It's crazy how good he is with pinning opposing teams in bad field position. Not only does this man have a leg, he has accuracy. How do you even practice that? I feel like he's definitely one of our best secret weapons and one of our most effective players that people need to notice. So shouts out to Tressway, man. And then old reliable Ryan Kerrigan had a very inspiring pick 6, gave us our only hope in that game. Preston Smith had a very impressive sack and was out there looking great. Zach Brown, Pro Bowl inside linebacker acquisition from Buffalo, led the team in tackles with 12 total and 7 of them being solo, showing off his athleticism that we have lacked for years since London Fletcher retired. Then Kendall Fuller and Mason Foster were out there looking great too. And I'm also happy to see Chris Thompson making some plays. Thank goodness we went ahead and gave him that 2-year contract extension that runs through 2019. I'm glad we jumped on this early because he looks like he's about to take the league by storm. And his week 2 performance showed he really about to show out this season, which leads me to week 2 against the Rams. Great game. I feel as if we dominated the game more than the score showed though. But Todd Gurley just put the team on his back and made plays to extend drives and get points like a true Georgia Bulldog product would do and should do. Y'all already know how that goes, so I'm not mad at him. But the Redskins had to handle that quick L real quick. Many great things to take from this game too. First of all, the run game finally looked like the old days. We ran for 229 yards. We are the only team in the NFL to run for at least 200 yards so far this season too. Great way to bounce back, Jay Gruden and O-line. Shouts out to the O-line for actually looking like some Pro Bowlers and looking dominant, doing whatever they wanted to the supposed top D-line in the Rams. Also, shouts out to Jay Gruden for not leaving the run game. We all know how he sometimes like to leave the run game behind, even when it's been working. He had a moment there where he ran away from it in the middle of the game, but he got back to it. Also, Shouts out to Jay Gruden, the play caller, for mixing up the type of runs we had. We had a pounding style of running with Rob Kelly before he got hurt, with a mix of Chris Thompson going crazy, breaking off huge plays and had us looking so dynamic through the ground. We had toss plays, we had HB draws, pitches up the middle, screens, all kinds of stuff. And then later in the game, Samaje Perine came in and we switched it up to run what he did best in college at Oklahoma, the shotgun zone running game. It was off to a slow start, but once he settled down, he became unstoppable, and at a great time too, because we got the ball with over 6 minutes left with the score tied 20-20, and Samaje led the way to us running the clock down, and eventually Kirk Cousins throwing a nice little lob pass to Ryan Grant for the game winner. Shouts out to Ryan Grant too, biggest moment in his career. Happy for him. The play was great, but would not have been possible if it were not for the dominant run game paving the way. With the running game being so dominant, Kirk Cousins gets to minimize his mistakes by being a game manager rather than a carrier. He had 179 yards with 1 touchdown off of completing 18 of his 27 passes. I can trust him on game-winning drives way more than to manage a game while throwing the ball 40 or more times, which he did last year. He's pretty clutch, but I don't like his consistency. So the more he throws, the more mistakes he is prone to make. I love this new game plan, but as a Redskins fan, and I emphasize Redskins fan, because as a Kirk Cousins fantasy owner in a very important league, I am highly upset. Now I love my fantasy. I really love some fantasy. I take it really serious, but I care more about the Redskins. So keep going with this, Jay Gruden. Great formula for winning. Jordan Reed also had a pretty good game too, pretty decent. 6 receptions for 48 yards, but he got hurt pretty bad, and I was like, oh no, not again. But his toughness got him back on that field to make some plays, and most importantly, forced defenses to account for him and open up opportunities for offensive skill players. He's just a big distraction a lot of the time, honestly. And this leads me to this injury problem that we had in this game. Jordan Reed had a sprained SC joint that he played through. With him already having a lot of pain in his toe he had surgery on and missed most of training camp, Josh Norman fell on his shoulder making a great play, but soon returned to finish the game and keep making plays and forcing fumbles with his high IQ and will to win. I told y'all our DBs were going to look to force fumbles this year in the video I made months ago. I love it. Shouts out to defensive backs coach Torian Gray. DeShazer Everett, Sua Craven's replacement, got an eye injury late in the game. Morgan Moses re-aggravated a sprained ankle that bothered him throughout the week 1 loss against the Eagles. And my boy Mason Foster, who I've been wanting to start a long time ago, dislocated his shoulder in the second quarter and had it popped back in. It went back into the most contact sport, playing one of the most contact positions, and did well. He told Zach Brown after the Eagles ran a play earlier in the game that if they run it again, he's going to jump the route and intercept the ball. And then when the play came near the very end of the game with his dislocated shoulder, he made the play and intercepted the ball, putting the nail in the coffin and giving us our sure win. Our first win of the season. I love to see so many players who sustain injuries go out there and have the will to win and the competitive nature to go out there and perform even with all the pain and discomfort. Shouts out to all of them. They made huge impact, and I hope Rob Kelly, who's on the screen, and his fractured rib cage isn't too bad. We need him back. Also, that beast Kendall Fuller on the right, who was a strong candidate to be our team's comeback player of the year, was out there putting in work too. He was making play after play, breaking up passes and making textbook tackles. Not putting his head down when going for tackles is not only a more productive tackle, but is also much safer, which is the most important part. But one play, Fuller saved Josh Norman. Josh Norman tried to make a tackle and failed, and Fuller, with his high awareness, left his coverage of one guy and went to make a great tackle on Josh Norman's assignment, which stopped the possibility of a huge gain and maybe even a touchdown. But at one point he did get leaped over by Todd Gurley, but you know, it's tragic and all, but Todd Gurley is a Georgia Bulldog product, so he's supposed to do stuff like that. But in the end, the Rams aren't a great team, so if we want to be great, we need to learn how to dominate and blow out the lesser teams, because we have Oakland coming up, and they're a top 5 team. And we can definitely beat them, but it's going to come down to our run game, third down defense, and the emergence of Terrell Pryor, who recently said his dominant season starts this coming week against the Raiders. So if he becomes who we hope he becomes, our offense will become unstoppable. But that's it for this episode. Thanks for the view. I promise a week 3 analysis after the game will come sometime during the week. I won't fall off, I promise. Make sure y'all Dolemite fake punch that like button, favorite, subscribe. I'll subscribe back, and most importantly, comment and share. And again, thank y'all for the support. I'll catch y'all later. I'm out.